Is this working? Yeah, this is working. Can you all hear me? So, I'm Mexican, as you heard, and I have 35 minutes to give you my talk. I don't know, sometimes when they ask me that, they realize I'm Mexican. So, I make a novella out of, as you all know. But my life's like a novella, so I'm not going to hide it. I was born and raised in Mexico City. I was born and raised Catholic. I like to say every single time I talk that I'm devoted to Our Lady of Guadalupe. You just can't be from Mexico City and not devoted. Even atheists are devoted. Just untouchable, right? And since I was a child, I had a dream to become a doctor. I grew up in a hospital setting. My mother was a social worker, and she worked in one of the major hospitals in Mexico City. And I remember as growing up, I used to go to the nursery, with one of her assistants and watch the babies come out. And I always told her I wanted to be in the medical field. I actually attended a school in Mexico City and graduated with a medical lab technician, and then moved to this beautiful country with a tourist visa. Obviously, in my situation and as a foreigner, attending medical school, especially back then, there was no dreamers. So I couldn't be a dreamer back then. And attending a university and graduating medical school was not possible. So I attended a senior year in high school in Horizon High School, then attended Scottsdale Community College. Anyone from Horizon? No? Okay, good. They stayed at ASU. Anyways, and then I attended Scottsdale Community College to do some kind of like healthcare management study related. And then I was working in a restaurant, and my friend was like, hey, you have medical experience. I love to draw blood because I was really good at it and doing lab work. And she's like, why don't you come work for the place I work? They help women. Now, I must confess that back then I knew very little about Planned Parenthood. Why? In my country, abortion was illegal. This is the year 2000. Don't estimate my age, please. I do not allow that to my kids. But it's about your age. Anyways, so she said they help women. And I said, well, it's a healthcare field, they help women, why not? So I walked into the doors of Planned Parenthood. Now, I just told you I was Catholic, born and raised Catholic, so abortion was not a topic at my house. It wasn't something we discussed as being allowed. My mom back there could tell you that it wasn't something like I was born and raised Catholic in a country that was not talked about. So when I had my interview, they asked me a question that they ask every employee. So what do you think about abortion? And I quickly remember that my American history teacher, while teaching us about 1973, Roe v. Wade, I learned my body and my choice in that class in my senior year. And I responded, well, I wouldn't have one, but if someone else does, that's her body and her choice. And I strongly believe that, right? Many people today believe that, even Catholic, Christian, they strongly believe I wouldn't have one, but if someone else does, that's their problem, that's their life. Like Father was saying today on the scripture, freedom, right? It's their choice. So I responded that, and I was like, I'm so proud. I used something I learned in high school. And I got the job. So I started working for Planned Parenthood, but I quickly said, but I will not be doing abortions, right? They were like, no, you were hired for the other side. Good. So I started my job working in clinics that most people see as really good from Planned Parenthood, and I did too. Even my mother, when she heard about Planned Parenthood, because she was like, oh, she works for Planned Parenthood, but remember, we knew nothing. We were Mexican. We are Mexican. And when someone told her, they kill babies there, and she was like, they say you kill babies there. Mom, where I work at, we have nothing to do with abortion. Not even my salary. I don't have nothing to do with abortion. I give pills, I give STDs, I give pregnancy tests, I give well woman exams. I prevent cancer and abortions. That's what I do. Very proudly said that. I used to argue with people praying outside and said, I prevent more abortions than you praying on the sidewalk. Beat that. I used to be like that. I used to carry my young child on her little stroller and teach her to scream my body, my choice in those pink hat marches. Today I remember, I'm like, that was so ridiculous. But I did that because I can tell you that I strongly believe on the mission and vision of that corporation. I did. I thought I was doing something really good for women. Something really good. I mean, a woman 16 years of age will walk into my clinic, get a pregnancy test, and I quickly will have told her, so you're pregnant. you know, with a really fat, bad face of, you're in deep trouble, lady. And that quickly she will be like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Self-page. You could have an abortion. Your parents don't have to find out. In the state of Arizona, you need a parental consent, but we can help you overrule that by having a judicial bypass. We even have people that will help you and guide you through the process. We will tell you what judge will sign it, so what courthouse you need to go. Really? You don't even have to tell your parents. You can just tell them you had a really bad period. And if a woman walked in and she was in NAU, I will be like, so how's that going to work with your plans at school? So then, right now I realize, after I left Planned Parenthood, that I actually was selling abortions. That's what I was doing. I used to convince women that what they needed in their life right now was to have that abortion, and their lives will be better. I strongly believe that that 16-year-old will have a better life by having an abortion than continue to carry her pregnancy. And then they told me that abortion was safer than carrying a pregnancy to full term. And I believe that too. I mean, they give me the long list of issues that a pregnant woman could have, and how, well, they wouldn't have that because if they don't continue pregnancy, the problem is done, right? And I strongly believe that. And I used to sell that to women. And because Mexicans are known, yes, they are known for being hard workers. Well, not all of them, a lot of us. I was one of them. I was so dedicated, but also I was grateful. See, a lot of us immigrants, when we moved to this country, we are very grateful. I moved to this country for safety reasons. Economically, we're doing just fine in Mexico City. My mom had a really profitable business that allowed us to live in this country for like 3 years without having to worry to work or anything. Obviously, that didn't last. But so the reason I moved here is because just to travel from where I live in cross Mexico City to go to you will call high school, I will literally have to buy a new backpack every week because every week someone will try to steal something from it and snatch out of my backpack and break it, and I will have to get a new backpack. You know, and then my mom got just really worried. My father lived in Phoenix, and she's like, well, we're moving there because this violence is too much. So we moved to this country. So I was grateful. Immigrants, for the most part, are very grateful to be in this country, and we're hard workers. And I was not the exception. I told you I was devoted to the mission and vision of Planned Parenthood, and they gave me the opportunity of the American dream. I mean, my other side was, there's nothing wrong with working in a bar or working in a restaurant or cleaning houses or being a babysitting, but I told you I had a dream to be a doctor. I wanted to be in the healthcare field. And they had just opened that door to me. And what did I have to do? Be grateful and work harder than anyone else in that corporation. And I did. And they saw that. And I escalated, and I became the training coordinator for the entire state of Arizona, meaning that I will train every single employee in this state on their first week on the mission, vision of Planned Parenthood, computer system and whatnot, and then send them out to their centers. Then, a couple years later, I became the director of North Phoenix facility, which was a Title X center, a center to help with provide birth control, well woman exams, pathway. And then in 2015, they said, Mayra, we need you to take care of the Title X side of Flagstaff, Arizona, because they're having a hard time retaining employees. So I took over Flagstaff, so now I'm managing 2 centers. 2016, they gave me the Employee of the Year award, and I take it. And because I was so good at my job, right? And I've been so loyal to them. Now we're talking 16 years, I get the Employee of the Year award. And then with that Employee of the Year award comes a promotion. Mayra, we would like you to be the director of the biggest abortion center in the state of Arizona, Glendale. I confess to you that no one says, I wanted to be a doctor, but I will never say, I want to be the director of the abortion facility. No one does. No one says, I want to work at an abortion center. No one does. No one. Not even the doctors. The abortionists, that's not what they want to do. Even though some of them right now may say that that's not it, you know, because they don't want to. And then I have heard so many horror stories about it. I have heard the abortionists are really hard to deal with. They literally behave like they're God. They pick and choose who lives and dies. The retaining of employees is really, really hard. No one wants to work there. The patients, It's really hard to deal with patients because they're very unhappy. Obviously, they don't want to be there either. So remember, employees don't want to be there. The abortion is there because it's easy money. The patients don't want to be there. No matter what anyone says, no woman wants to have an abortion. So literally, the only ones who want to be there is the people praying outside. They're the only ones who wake up and say, I want to go to the abortion center. They're the only ones, literally. The rest of it, they have to be there, you know? And Father just told you, I mean, in order to do something we love, you have to feel the freedom. I can tell you, as an former abortion worker, there is no freedom. I had to, because I just told you I was an immigrant, and I had a visa. I entered this country with a tourist visa. That visa, obviously, when they expire, I overstayed my visa. That's what that's called legally, and I became undocumented. So Planned Parenthood hired me knowing this. They knew I didn't have documents to work in this country, and that's how I worked for them for 17 years. So at that moment I thought, they said, if you don't take this job, Trump will defund us and we will close your other 2 centers. And I cannot guarantee that you will have a job. I had my 2 kids. It was just myself and them. My daughter had just entered college and she decided to go to California. So it was not cheap. And then my son was still in high school. And I said, what am I going to do? What am I going to do if I lose my job? It's not like I can go and find another job. You know, it's not that I'm going to be able to work. At that moment, you know, the world closes down on you and you're like, I'm going to have to take it. You know, I have my benefits. I had a comfortable life. I was selfish. And I had to take it because that was what mattered to me and my family. So I took the job, and I started working as the director of the abortion facility. And just like I told you, I was devoted, so I gave my best. I gave 110% of myself to that center. I worked there harder than anyone. I was the first one in that center. I worked 7 days a week because that center used to open 7 days a week to do abortions. And then I started seeing what people had been saying on the sidewalk. Number one, I was given a quota. I was told I needed to see at least 45 women a day, 30 for abortion, surgical, and 15 for pill. I had never had a quota. In my other centers, they never cared if I saw 10, 12, 5 patients. They didn't care. Why? Because they were fully funded by the government. They didn't need it to make money. Taxes support those centers. That was the first thing. The second thing was money. Money. That woman better come up with money. I remember here at the facility here in Flagstaff, there was a case that one of the staff members called me and said, the girl's crying. She doesn't have enough for her abortion pill. She's missing $50, and she only has until tomorrow to do the pill because then she'll be too far. She will have to drive to Phoenix. I called my supervisor and I said, well, I have this case in Flagstaff. She needs $30. Can we make an exemption? He's like, definitely not. She doesn't have the money. She can drive to Phoenix to do her abortion. So I was like, I thought we were all about helping, right? So if they don't have money, they don't get an abortion because money is what matters here. It's not about what matters to the patient. And then I started realizing what the amount of money meant. Well, my centers that did no abortions barely deposited $1,000 in a good day. But the centers that did abortions deposited about $20,000 a day. $20,000 just from payments from credit cards and cash, not counting the insurance payments that we will get 3 months later. And I was like, wait a minute, this is not 3%. I mean, I'm not good at math, guys, but this is not 3%. At the other centers, 10 patients. This facility, 45 a day. That's not 3% of our services. Then I suggested, why don't we bring other services into this abortion facility? I had a doctor willing to donate his time to do vasectomies for free. All we had to do was pay for the requirement, the staff, cleaning supplies. The staff needed to do the vasectomies. They said there's no money in there and too much liability. Then I had an OBGYN willing to donate her time to do sterilizations on women, and I was given the same answer. Then I had another doctor wanting to donate her time to do colposcopy, which is a test that you find cervical cancer in women after they had abnormal pap smear. And I was told, definitely not, there's no money there, and definitely too much liability, because if they have cancer, we have to follow up with them. It's a never-ending story. Abortions, Mayra, are easy money. They come, we do it, and they're gone. And I was like, So this is about abortion. So whatever the people are saying outside that we only care about abortion is actually true. But then I started seeing what I was selling. Remember I told you, I used to tell women that they were safer in their abortion than carrying a pregnancy to full term. And then I started seeing the complications that no one talked about. The daily perforations on women after a surgical abortion. The complications after a pill that didn't go well. The excessive bleeding. The women taking too long to heal. And when I say too long to heal, I had a patient that took 6 months to heal after taking the abortion pill because she continued bleeding. After 2 aspirations, she continued to bleed until she had an hysterectomy. And I started seeing all these complications and nothing reported. For the very first time, I was not in charge of reporting complications. The abortionist was. At Flagstaff, during the normal center, I was in charge of reporting anything that went wrong with a patient. At the other location, I was in charge of reporting. At this location, don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. Don't worry about it. We'll take care. Well, can I see that you reported it? No, we'll take care of it. Don't you worry about it. And I started getting reports from emergency rooms on women getting perforated, having to get it repaired. And then I started seeing the unreported of women that went to statutory rape and they didn't want to report the rapist. And I don't mean the patient, but the actual location. And I started complaining, and I started complaining. And obviously, I told you I had an Employee of the Year award, and I was becoming an issue to Planned Parenthood. And there's a case that I would like to talk about, and it's very graphic, and I apologize because I know we just had dinner. But I had a 19-year-old, and remember my daughter back then was 18. She had just moved to college. The 19-year-old was 14 weeks pregnant. And make no mistake, 14-week pregnancy termination happened through the dismemberment of this baby in the womb alive. They rip up their baby body parts, they put them on a little glass dish, and then go and put a puzzle together in a room called the POC room. In this scenario, it all went as usual. He performed the abortion. It was a Sunday. He was the medical director for the state of Arizona, and he has to see 45 patients at least a day, so he sees a patient every 15 minutes, right? And he goes in, he does it, and he's out. And I mean, it takes less to dismember a baby than it does to go to the dentist and him telling you, oh, let me see what I'm going to treat. He did the abortion. The assistant went into a room and checked for all the baby body parts, the 2 legs, the torso, the arms, and realized that they're missing the head. So she goes back to the room and says, we're not done, we're missing the baby head. And he says, go look everywhere. She said, I already did. Go look again. I'm inserting an IUD. An IUD is a device to prevent pregnancies, and he had already inserted that on this patient, as her mother requested. And she goes to my office and says, he's moving to the next room. I already told him we're missing the head. She understood, just as a medical assistant. When I say as a medical assistant, because she has no license, right? A medical assistant just has a diploma. She went to basic kind of healthcare school, and it's put to work. But she knew as a medical assistant what would happen to the 19-year-old with the baby head left inside. A septicemia that would kill her in less than 48 hours. She knew that. And she knew especially having an IUD blocking the only way out will make it even more dangerous. She knew that, and she was just his assistant. So she rushed into my office, says, I know he's going to fire me, but I already told him. He's refusing to look. He's already going into the room. So I go up, I grab him before he enters the room, and I say, apparently you're not done. We're missing the baby head. He looks at me. I still remember his face and the tone of his voice. And says, go look in the trash. Like, don't bother me. At that moment, something came up to me because I was like, trash? It's not trash. And that could have been my daughter. And then what came into my mind is, if I was my daughter, that's someone's daughter, and I would like someone to speak up and not let her go home like that. And I said, no, you are going to look for it inside her. So he agrees to do an ultrasound. We find the baby head right above the IUD. The 19-year-old had 2 abortions in less than 30 minutes. They aspirated her twice. They scraped her twice. He denied and did not agree to document that he had done that. Like, he actually documented on the chart, abortion done without any complications. So we argue about it. I left. I called my supervisor, no more. I said, you're there to do something? All right, well, I will go to the State Department, to the Health Department, to the medical board. He will stop. He will not touch another woman while I'm in charge. So obviously, guess what happened? A week later, Mayra got fired, right? Now she became Planned Parenthood enemy after being Planned Parenthood's Employee of the Year. And I came out, and I'm going to confess to you that I was like, what am I going to do? I'm just a Mexican against a multi-billion-dollar corporation, multinational corporation. What can I do against them? It's just me. I felt so hopeless and angry. And then there was this lady, remember, the only ones wanting to be there, the ones praying outside. So this lady, who I have seen when I started working there in the year 2000, and then I saw her again in 2017 when I took over the Glendale facility. I mean, I can tell you the first day I saw her there, I was like, oh my God, that lady's still here. She really has nothing to do. 180 degrees in Phoenix, guys. Who's praying outside, right? Just for pleasure. That lady, right? And we became friendly. We didn't become friends, but we became friendly. She will be, good morning, Mayra. I will be like, good morning, Lynn. And just on time went by. Just a quick story here. When I started working at the abortion facility, well, this time, remember, I told my mom, Mom, I don't do abortions. I have nothing to do with abortions. She bought it. I sold it to her. My poor mother was like, oh, okay, she doesn't do abortions. But this time she was, so now you do abortions. And I'm like, well, I have to, Mom. So, well, I told you she's Catholic, so you can guess what she did. She put a rosary on my rearview mirror. And I showed up to work with a rosary. So now everyone inside knew I was Catholic. And I still remember, Lynn is the lady who was praying outside, and I can still remember the day she saw me arrive on my car with my rosary my dear mother gave me. And she looked at me with an extreme sad face and said, Mayra, you're Catholic? Like I had just slapped her in the face. And I was like, I knew what that meant, so I rushed into the door. I'm like, okay, bye. And after that, she stopped seeing me, and she knew I was always there. I was the first one, I was the last one, 7 days a week. She was like, where's Mayra? Who does that, guys? Who worries about the director? I mean, anyone else, like another one bites the dust. Bye, see ya. Bye, Felicia, like my son said. But not Lynn. Not Lynn. She was like, this is a very loyal Mexican employee. Where has she gone? This is not normal. She's always here. She's been here too long. And one way or the other, she gets a hold of me, I get a hold of her, and she says, can I buy you lunch? Sure, Mom. My brother's name's Christian. My son's name's Mark. I'm like, Mom, Christian, Mark. So this lady invited me for lunch. She's the one praying outside. Here's the address where I will be in case I disappear. Come looking for me. So I shut up, very worry about my surroundings and park it really far. I knew her car, so I parked really far where she would park. I didn't even take my car, right? I went inside, I sat down, she's like, can we help you find healing? And I was like, seriously? Yes, because I felt very angry. And I don't know what to do with this anger. What can I do against them? They did this. He's still there touching women. And she takes me to a priest, and the priest helped me find healing. And I remember when we walked into his office, and he dropped everything. They told him who I was, and literally he stopped whatever he was doing, talked to me. We talked for like 2 hours. He helped me find a way to cope with that anger. And I realized that the anger it was towards the abortionists, but I realized that it was towards me. I had believed a lie. I had been selling a lie, and now I have to face the truth. And the truth was that abortion was harming women, and I was sending them right to that. I was selling them the idea that they would be better, and I had just realized those short months as the director of the abortion facility that was not the reality. That I had been selling a lie to them. That I have told them You will be better after 15 minutes. And the lady had 6 months and an hysterectomy before she became better. And she could never have children again because of that abortion. And then another girl got perforated. So I had to realize that I was feeling angry towards myself. And I had to do a lot of forgiving, self-forgiving. I knew God right and there had already forgave me. But I knew that I had to work on myself. But then I also, I knew I had to do something. Yes, I'm just a Mexican, but I have to do something. And they helped me find my lawyer, Tim Casey, and just imagine the meeting. I show up to his office. I tell him I'm Mexican novella, right? Because this sounds like one of them, right? And he says, I believe you. I said, seriously? He's like, yes, I believe you. I always say that my story, there was a lot of faith from those people. The lady on the sidewalk and my lawyer and his wife, because obviously there was a woman behind the guy that called him and said, you got to help Mayra. And he did. We started a lawsuit against Planned Parenthood for wrongful termination under the Whistleblower Protection Act, which gratefully our state has. That will not be the same law in the state of California after Prop 1. My case will not even face courtroom after Prop 1 passed. Because there's no restrictions, there's no prosecution, there's nothing against an abortion in that state after Proposition 1 has passed in the last 2 days. So thankfully in this state there is. And my case made it to a courtroom. Being the first immigrant to ever start a lawsuit against a corporation for wrongful termination in this history of the United States. I can promise you it wasn't an easy decision. I mean, I was facing more losses than anything win, because I knew one of the consequences from me starting that lawsuit was to be deported and go back to my country. My lawyer told me, I will defend your labor suit. There's nothing I can do about immigration. You will, eventually, when we get to trial, you will go back to Mexico. I had lived here already for almost 20 years, 20-some years. I have barely any family in Mexico. My brothers were already American citizens and whatnot. And but I knew I had to do it. And I said, it's fine. I still want to do it. He's like, are you sure? And I said, yes. He's like, why? And I said, because women deserve to know the truth. Women deserve to know what is happening behind those doors. And I need to prove my case in order for people to believe me, to believe my story. Because otherwise I will just be one of those voices that people are like, should we believe her? Planned Parenthood comes in and says, she's lying. And everybody's like, oh, okay, Planned Parenthood says she's lying. So I had to have proof. I have to have legal proof, but also because from the moment I raised my children when they were little, I told them to speak up. If you see something wrong, speak up. Someone's bullying a kid, speak up. And I was not going to prove different. I have to speak up. I always say for me, speaking up was not a choice. It was an obligation, and I have to. So in 2019, in August 2019, we won the lawsuit against Planned Parenthood. 10 jurors sided with me, all of them temporary choice jurors, because they saw the truth. They saw what we proved. I mean, as most of you know, in a trial, it's a 50-50. And you have your 50% of your time to prove your side, and they had their 50% of the time to prove their side. And I spoke the truth. Throughout the almost 2 years of the case, people, if I had $1 for every person that said you will never beat Planned Parenthood, I will actually be a millionaire. But I had never had doubt in my heart. When people say, but what if you lose? I'm not going to lose. I'm not going to lose. Kind of like a politician. I mean, we have heard in the last 2 days, right? I'm not going to lose. I said, nope. I'm not going to lose because I'm telling the truth. I know I'm not going to lose. And I did it. And I proved my case. And then, again, just like being the first immigrant to start a lawsuit, I became the first immigrant to ever win a labor lawsuit in the United States history. And like I said, I did it for women. I did it for people that they need to know that they cannot be afraid to speak up. I have met over 650 former abortion workers now. And when I hear their stories, and believe me, their stories are worse than mine. They make Planned Parenthood Arizona look like angels compared to what I have heard them say from private abortionists and other Planned Parenthoods. And when I hear them, I always ask them, I only lasted about 10 months as the director of abortion facility, that was enough to open my eyes. And I asked them, why you didn't do anything or say something? You can't go against the abortion. You know what happens? They destroy your life. And I have seen it. I have seen it with other former workers that have left very quietly, and you never hear back from them. They don't even do anything related to healthcare, because one thing we all knew is once you end up in bad terms with Planned Parenthood, no one will hire you in the healthcare field. And most of them hear that. It's one of those, if anyone watched the movie Matilda, I'm a big fan of it. It's like one of those of, I'm big, you're small, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's what people have told me, that they were big and I was small, but there was nothing I can do about it. But I did. And then I come out and start speaking my story. And right away, guys, August 16, when the lawsuit, Monday the 19th, I was at Fox News giving my testimony and my story. The headline was awful. It was like, this undocumented just won a lawsuit. No, okay, you had to go there, right? At least they didn't call me illegal. I'm just against that term. I don't think God makes anything legal, and we are all human, so I'm just going to throw it in there. But that's a different topic. Let's not go into that. And so I started noticing that Planned Parenthood was not only an American issue. Planned Parenthood was not only in Arizona. You see, at the beginning, I was like, it must just be Planned Parenthood Arizona. It must just be the abortionist here. It must just be this location. And then I started hearing the stories of other workers, and I realized that, no, that happened in Missouri, that happened at Planned Parenthood in California, that happened at Family Associates in another state. That happens at every abortion facility, and worse things. But then I started hearing that happens in other countries, and guess what? I worked 17 years there. I just told you, I used to train people on the mission, ambition, and history of Planned Parenthood, right? And I didn't know that International Planned Parenthood Federation had more affiliates than McDonald's in the world. And then they were the #1 providers and promoters of abortion laws in other countries. I didn't know that. McDonald's is very proud of Big Mac and French fries, right? They have pictures, whether it's Japanese, Spanish, French, whatever. Big Mac and French fries. They don't hide it. They're proud of Big Mac. They're proud of Mac fries. But Planned Parenthood is not. It's called FUSA in Argentina. It's called Pro Familia in Colombia. It's called MexFam in Mexico, and so on and so forth. But every country in this world has an affiliated with Planned Parenthood. And then I learned that U.S. tax dollars are 58% of the donors of the International Planned Parenthood Federation without even asking us. And it's used to pass abortion legislations in many other countries to promote abortion among the poor, because for some odd reason, they think that my people in Mexico need abortion and not a plate of food, and not a job, or someone to help them find the cartels. They think that if they give them abortion, everything will be fixed. Even the cartels, they disappear. But no. And the people in Honduras, they're not going to get better with an abortion. But then here we are, having this big corporation, multinational, pushing for these legislations. And then I'm like, well, what's behind this? Let's think about this. Well, I was hired because I was an immigrant, and they needed someone to go and attract the immigrant community. And then I remembered, I just told you, I learned the history of Planned Parenthood. 1938, Margaret Sanger opens Harlem, New York, with black employees, with the help of the black leaders from the church, and attracting the black community. Oh, I was hired to attract the immigrants because obviously my community will feel more welcome if a face like theirs and their language is talking to them and selling them this easy way out. She could not be lying to me. She's Mexican. She wouldn't want harm on me, right? So then I realized, why is it that the International Planned Parenthood Federation is such an urgency to approve free abortions for the poor? Well, because one of our biggest issues is immigration, and 60% of the immigrants come from poor communities, and if you kill them before they're born, well, they won't come. That's the easy fix, right? And that's why they promote. But then when you go to those places, most women don't want an abortion. One thing, I don't know how many of you are Latinos here or Hispanic, but one thing you should know about Hispanics and Latinos, we love having big families. I'm very proud of having 50 cousins. Very, very proud. I'm very proud of having big reunions on Christmas and whatnot. That's who we are. It's our culture. And when someone says, your culture needs to stop having children, you Mexicans need to reduce your family to 1 or 2 or maybe 0, that's an attack to my culture, because that's who we are. And when they go and promote this in countries like Colombia and Argentina and South America or Central America, it's an attack to their culture. They don't want this culture anymore. They want to break this culture. They don't want families with multiple children. And all that without me knowing. 17 years, guys, I worked for this corporation. And they fooled me. And I'm like, so who else is being fooled? Well, it seems a lot of people, according to the 3 million that voted in California to just hand over blank checks for over $2 billion on Proposition 1 to make women travel as young as 12 years of age from any state that has restriction so they could have an abortion. I argued with a few people online in the last 48 hours. I mean, to me, it has been a very sad couple of days. Why? Because I just told you, with propositions like the one in Michigan and California, my case will not have even made it to a courtroom. They would have dismissed it right away. I would not even have been able to submit a claim. And so are many of the women that had been harmed by abortion. And then on top of it, we know that California is the #1 state with sex trafficking and exploitation of children. So there is no coincidence that it's the state that has less restriction. You don't need an ID for an abortion. You don't even need anything to get a hold of an abortion pill. Why? Because then the people that have this exploiting these children, they literally go and buy the pills and give it to them and force them. And we know that because they're being rescued and we have heard their stories. But their stories to continue to be silent because then an actress comes out and says, this is an act of mercy. And I know where she's coming from. I sold that too many times. You have 3 children already. Are you sure you want to bring one more? This is an act of mercy towards your family already in your home. I know where she's coming from. I used to tell that to patients. This will be an act of love. If you kill the one in your womb, then you can feed the ones you already have at home. This is an act of love. So all these stories about all these people that have suffered through abortion are not even acknowledged. They're silent. They're put aside. They don't exist. My story sometimes, you will think that Univision, some people that don't know, it's the main media for Latinos or Hispanic in this country. Univision or Telemundo or any Hispanic media will be so proud of the immigrant story, right? Apparently not. None of them wanted to hear my story. The moment I said it's against Planned Parenthood, they were like, no, thank you. No, thank you. Why? Because it's not convenient for what's going on in the world. It's not convenient for the money making. Why? Because we talk about Planned Parenthood, and I tell you, this huge corporation that obviously has become multi-billion-dollar corporation. But behind that corporation, there's more businesses around it. Businesses that were created because of abortion. Right? There's a university in San Francisco practicing with the unborn for many, many years. Currently, the last 4 years, they have been practicing exchanging genitalias on the unborn up to 26 weeks. Right? So then there is all this usage of the fetal cells that has been going on and had been proven. And there's a whole company that does it from states like California, New York, and other states that do this. So behind the abortion industry, there's a pharmaceutical industry, and then there's all these industries that have actually made a business out of abortion, all profiting in the name of women's rights, all profiting in the name of my body and my choice. 83% of the abortions globally, not only in our country, globally, I don't want to be mom today. It's not convenient. It's not, I'm sick. It's not the baby sick. It's not I was raped. And I can tell you, in our country, less than 2% of the abortions are rape victims or incest. Why? Because as soon as you report a rape, they give you this huge cocktail of pills that actually will prevent or will not let the pregnancy get implanted. So most women that are raped actually hardly ever become pregnant. Less than 7% of the abortions are because of the dangers of the life of the mother globally. Not only in the United States, globally. And these are all statistics you will find in Good Mature Institute, which is Planned Parenthood's website, and NARAL, they're all Planned Parenthood. United Nations, they all have the same statistics because they just pass it on to each other. It's like passing notes. Less than 1% of the abortion are because of fetal anomalies. Less than 1%. But that's what they sell you, right? That's what they sell you. This is needed because if a baby's sick, it should be killed. If a baby has Down syndrome, it should be killed because he will be suffering. I have a friend that has a baby. She's a 9-year-old with Down syndrome. It breaks my heart that she has to read that someone says her daughter should be dead. I actually have said to these people, I'm going to bring you that little girl. You will look her in the eye and tell her, I wish you were dead because you should not have been born. And see how you feel about it. I will bring you a kid born of a rape victim, and I want you to tell him on his face that he should not be born and he should not exist because you think that he should pay for his father's mistakes. In the only crime that we are very quick to say, that kid should not be born. He should have the death penalty because his father was a rapist. It doesn't matter. The rapist can just do whatever he wants with his life. Most of the time they do. Most of the time they do. And well, now you heard me speak as a very active pro-life activist because I saw the darkness of abortion. I realized what I was selling. I realized I was wrong. I have apologized 1,000,000 times to all the women that I have served for 70 years, and I sold them that lie. And I realized that what I have done for 17 years, Father, God wanted me there, right? He just told us that on the scripture. I know He wanted me to see what I had to see to be able to be who I am today. I don't regret anything. When people ask me, do you regret working for that abortion facility? I said, I'm going to say something that most people will not get, but I'm actually glad I did. Today I can tell you it has been the best thing that has happened in my life because that opened my eyes. See, it was very easy for me to support abortion, to teach my daughter my body and my choice, to tell women to go and get to the slaughterhouse and you'll be fine in 15 minutes. It was very easy. I didn't see it. I didn't suffer it. I wasn't there. It's easy to say, yeah, they should do that. I'm not looking at it. But once I looked at it, once I saw for what it was, and I realized what the truth behind it was, then that opened my eyes. So today, I always tell people that has been the best thing because I am who I am today because of that. Because of what I've been and what I have seen. Now, is it easy to forget? No. Do I still remember the baby body parts? Yes. Do I have nightmares about it? Of course. There's trauma after that, especially because God forgives you and then you're still like, I gotta do more. There's more I can do, right? Now, while I travel internationally, speaking of my story, right? Because I just told you, Planned Parenthood International, and I just became Mayra worldwide. And I'm gonna open for questions because I see all your faces and I know you have questions. Shoot at me. Yes.
Just to ask, so when would you define human life? I guess you could say, is it the moment of contraception, or how would you do it? Conception?
It is a moment of conception,
okay,
yeah.
So then, just to play by analogy here, here's Father Matt. We could consider him bald, right? It's argument by analogy. And then here's me, and I have a whole head of hair. At what point, how many hairs do I have to lose for me to be considered bald? Kind of thing. Like, where do we draw that line? So where would you draw the line for life?
I wouldn't call him bald quite yet. He still has hair. When you're completely bald. He still has hair. When you're completely bald. I mean, I will call you bald.
You know what I meant.
Yeah, and I stay by it. When you're completely bald, then you're considered a bald. But as long as you have one hair, you're not. You still have one hair. Yes?
What would you say your opinion is on the Texas accident?
What Texas accident? Walk me through
There
it.
was a lady driving in the POV lane, the lane that's only for 2 people or more, and a cop pulled her over because there wasn't 2 people in the car, and she was pregnant, so she said there was 2 people.
Oh, that's true. I like that.
But she was like wrong because there's not 2 people because a pregnant baby, it's not a baby, it's a fetus.
I like that, and I actually hope that changes because it is true. It's hype to me. If you are telling in a state that there's 2 people there because she's pregnant, and that there's another person inside her already with its own DNA, its own person, already designed to do great things in this world, right? Like become a bright student in NAU, then she should be considered a person already. So the law should have allowed pregnant women to drive in the HOV lane. I agree with her. I would have done it if I would have been pregnant. Again with the hair?
No.
Okay,
I was just arguing by analogy. What's your biggest counter argument for when people say my body, my choice?
Well, that it's not. I mean, it's your body. Go and get it tattooed. Go and get it chopped. That's your body. You can do whatever you want with your body. But the moment there's someone else inside, why did your rights overstep the rights of somebody else? That's not your body anymore. You're not the one getting dismembered in that room. It's somebody else getting dismembered. Yes.
You said that some of the facilities had like a high turnover rate. Do you think the turnover rate was because they realized that it was like a baby, or do you think they just didn't like the work environment?
No, actually, from working there, I can tell you why they turn around, right? A lot of them was when they saw people pray, that actually did something to them. It actually did. We've seen it. I saw it here when people got and prayed. We saw like 60% of patients not show up for their scheduled appointments. People that have already had ultrasounds, right? And then the people that look at the ultrasound, a lot of them change their mind when they see that ultrasound. They do. Even women that had actually be like, no, I don't care, I'm still going to do it. They change their mind. They do change their mind. I can tell you that from the testimony of many of the patients that have gone to other facilities worse than the one I just described you, they have seen blood in rooms and stuff and still stayed. I saw women post online, I was just a Planned Parenthood or another abortion, and they had blood everywhere, but she still stayed, right? So that has not changed their mind. When a woman is there to get the abortion done and her mind has been set, usually nothing like that will change her mind, no matter what she's looking at, no matter if she most of them never met the abortionist. Right? So I really think that the women that turn around has been because that was not their choice. They really didn't want it, and most of them don't. But the ones that go with it, they think that's the only way out. They really think at that moment that the only thing left for them is to have that abortion so they can move on. Because they feel alone, right? They feel like no one else is going to help them. Why? Because we have a society that told them that's what happens outside. I told them. I told women many times that the ladies outside were in fake clinics. Now that I volunteer for many of those fake clinics, I realize they're not. They have doctors volunteering there, nurses volunteering there, and most of them, and when I say most of them, is 98% of PRCs, pregnancy resource centers or pregnancy centers, are privately funded. That means that it's us donating diapers, it's us donating money. One thing that really upsets me is the other side, when they started bombing our centers, when they started attacking these centers and calling us not fake clinics and whatnot. It's like, if you're for choice and that woman had a choice to go there, what is your problem? You're for choice. You said you wanted her choice. So let her go to whatever she's getting what she wants. But I learned after 70 years that it's actually not about choice. It's about a business, the abortion business. And that's what they're in for. And obviously, every time they lose the patient, they need to attack someone, whether it's the people on the sidewalk trying to pass legislations to prevent them from being there. Why? Because we know that they can't convince people, because they know that they feel that someone will be there with them to walk them through. And we do. Any questions? Yes?
Do you believe that we can
safe abortions if we have more nonprofit organizations such as Planned Parenthood?
There's not such a thing as a safe abortion. There's no way to make it safe. First of all, when they're doing a surgical abortion, they can't even see what they're doing. A dentist will not remove a molar if he cannot see. This is the only procedure that these abortionists are doing it blindsided, not even with an ultrasound. Even if you use an ultrasound as a guidance, your image is inverse. You can't really see what you're doing. This is how people got perforated. Remember, I just told you in my testimony the amount of people that get perforated and the complications that happen daily. Not once a week, not once a month, like they told you. Not 28% of the abortions daily, right? There's no way to save it, to make it safe. The way they do the procedure today is the same way that it's been done since 1970s. It has not changed. What they have changed make the vacuum aspiration more powerful. But that has not changed. There's no way to change it. There is not a way to change it. And if we talk about the abortion pill as being safer, it's actually the opposite. The abortion pill is more dangerous. Why? Because that abortion pill was not created for that to begin with. Second of all, because no one knows how much you're going to bleed. No one knows. We're all made different. I mean, none of us have the same period. One can bleed one day, one can bleed a week, one can be 2 weeks, one can be heavy, one can be slow. That's why there's 100 million tampons. I mean, when I go buy for patch, I'm like, what am I getting today? You know, because there's so many choices because we're all so different. So no one knows how much you're going to bleed. You have never taken misoprostol before in your life or mifeprex. You don't know if you're allergic. I discovered I was allergic to penicillin when my promoter took me to the hospital and I broke up in hives and I almost stopped breathing. No one knows. No one knows what will happen to you. And then on top of it, 38% of the abortion pills fail. And that woman will need an aspiration to complete the abortion. Now you just put her the risk of the pill and now the risk of the aspiration, because 38% of that abortion pill will fail. It was not created for that. And they can't create an abortion pill. They can't create that. You know, they created the pill that chemically burns the baby 24 hours before it gets exposed, that's mifeprex. And then the misoprostol that creates the contraction, that misoprostol was created for gastroenteritis. That means stomach issues. So there's no safe abortion. There's not such a thing as safe abortion. And they know it. That's why they haven't changed their tactic or the way of doing abortion since 1970s. The same way. Same way. Yes.
So you being previous experience in the healthcare field, what is your opinion on the life-changing medications that are being banned because of the overturn of Roe v. Wade?
What life-changing medication?
Methotrexate.
Method what?
Methotrexate.
When were they banned?
Just recently, last month.
Here in the state of Arizona?
Yes.
Well, the state of Arizona has reinstated the abortion, so what was it ban?
What?
The state of Arizona has reinstated abortion, so what was the medication ban?
It was, so the patient was taking it for their medical condition arthritis.
Okay, so the patient you're referring at, what she was asked is to be put on birth control so she could take that medication. Because it's an abortive, and many medications for acne, patients need to go on birth control so they can take them. It's a requirement, it's requested because of the damage that it could cause to that baby. And that's what I know the case you're speaking about, and she was required that.
But if she's taking it because she needs it for her health condition?
But she could become pregnant, and that will make her have an abortion accidentally and put her life at risk. Okay. So the thing with that is that you only saw the other side explanation, you know, kind of like we only see the story of the woman who sued her doctor because they didn't want to abort her because she had a spina bifida, but then you don't see the hundreds of testimonies of the other side, right? Because the media is very quick to just show you the side that needs to show you to be able to upsell the abortion industry.
But I'm also on that other side because I have rheumatoid arthritis, and not being able to take my medication, that could cause life-threatening.
So what medication you're able to take?
Methotrexate.
You're not able to take it?
Yes.
I'm not quite understanding why it's being banned, because it's my understanding no medications have been banned.
Methotrexate has been banned.
So you have not been able to pick that up here?
Yes.
Well, then you need to find another doctor who will actually give you what you need.
But I can't in the state of Arizona because
Again, the state of Arizona has no bans on abortion currently. It has not had any ban on abortion for the last 30 days.
they will. And so without
Correct. That's the goal. The actual goal is that it. But if a doctor is refusing to give you what you need is a new doctor to guide you to the proper way of treatment.
what if I can't find a new doctor in the state of Arizona and I live here? I can't.
But you should be able to.
But I can't.
What do you mean?
Legalities against it that are banning the medication, and I'm not allowed to get the medication. What am I supposed to do in that instance?
Well, like I said, my understanding is that there's no medications that patients need to life-threatening conditions that are being banned. The doctor or the pharmacy should not be declining to give it to you.
But they are. So,
But what's the reason they're not giving it to you?
what?
What is the reason they're not giving it to you?
Because it causes abortions.
Right, so the answer for that is the patients are asked to be on birth control to prevent an unplanned pregnancy.
Okay, and what's your opinion on birth control then?
My opinion on birth control, as a Catholic, I wouldn't use birth control.
So then, if I can't be on birth control and I need to be on the specific medication, what am I supposed to do?
Like I said, I suggested you need to find a doctor who actually provide it. Many of the doctors that we have on the pro-life movement have said that. A doctor cannot refuse to give you your medication. And they have stated no medications have been banned for the life of a person.
But they have been in Tucson. That's
In
why-
Tucson,
Yeah.
but not in
You said
Flagstaff.
you saw that case. So I don't
Right, the case that you were referring at in Tucson, that woman was asked to be put on birth control to be given by her doctor.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said right now that her body, her choice, right? But that the fetus that's inside of her,
The baby?
it's a person, right?
Yes.
Okay, in that case, since the heart and the brain doesn't start developing up until the 3rd week, would you be okay with abortions before the 3rd week?
No, the conception already started. So let me ask you, so if a person is in a coma, medically induced coma, her brain right now is not functioning, her heart is through a machine, but the doctor will tell you in 6 months that person will wake up like that, should we just disconnect him? Because right now the brain and the heart are not pumping on its own. Should we just disconnect them then? Can we disconnect the people in coma? And not wait to see if they're gonna wake up? Can we? They don't have a brain, they don't have brain activity, they don't have a heart.
No, it's not that they don't have brain activity, it's that they don't have a brain at all, or a heart. It hasn't been developed until the...
It is on the way to develop, just like your hormones are still developing right now. You're not fully developed until you have become an adult, like 24, 25 years of age. You're still developing. Should we just stop your development at any point we want to? At what point do we decide that you're not developed yet enough to be considered an adult?
Before 24.
Before 24, so should we just, you're still not an adult, like full functioning person.
Yeah.
So should we just kill you?
I mean, maybe, but...
Okay, no, I'm not up for killing. I changed that, remember? I just got a conversion, so I'm done killing. 17 years did it.
So, like a fetus,
A baby. I will call it a baby. Every time you say fetus, I will say baby.
why is it a baby if it's not...
It's a baby.
But it's not born?
It's a baby. It doesn't have to be born. Still the mother's womb. It's a baby.
No, but, like, why is it a baby if it's not born yet?
It is a baby. What you will call it? Just a fetus?
Yeah, you said that...
A human being? Can we agree it's a human? Or is it a cat? Or a dog?
I think it's a human, because...
So what is it? If it comes from a human mixed with another human, what is it? A dog mixed with another dog is a dog. Doesn't matter what stage. It is a dog. But so what is it? It's a human. It's a DNA of a human. Even in the first 3 weeks, it is the DNA of a human being.
But it's... Okay. I guess I see your point.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
So in all your time there, did you see anybody else, like anybody, actual doctors or who did procedures, see anybody else have like a change of heart and like change their mind about it?
Many. We actually have many abortionists who are now pro-life. You know, they're pro-life doctors and speak against it.
Want to help you with your case?
At that moment, I only got my lawyer and the people there. Now, obviously, I'm part of a lot of organizations that are pro-life and had met them. But yeah, many people have changed their mind. Like I say, I belong to an organization where it's 650 of us that have left the abortion industry just in the United States. Worldwide, it's over, I would say 10,000 people that have come out of the abortion industry and speak against it and the corruption. Yes?
Why is it that how many states allow abortion, but also also in the extreme case of when a pregnant woman is murdered, it's considered a double homicide?
Exactly, right? That's exactly right. So they're very quick to say that an abortion can be up to 40 weeks, especially now after Michigan and California, an abortion can be up to 40 weeks, right? And then, but like for example, that's exactly what went wrong in California. Now a person that kills a baby up to 28 days, being born already outside, it's called perinatal, 28 days perinatal, it kills the mother and the baby, won't be charged homicide for that baby because now there's no prosecution against that. In most states, they do charge double homicide because they understand that the woman was pregnant and that was another person. And we saw that on that huge case in California of the accident, right? This nurse that actually crashed against this family, killing the 2 little kids, the mom that was pregnant, and she was 6 months pregnant, and then the father, and she was charged with the homicide of 5 people, right? Because we understand that there's a human being inside. And I just went over my time, right, Father? I told you, I'm Mexican. I just can't make these short stories.